Two books set on the mean streets of New York City, published 56 years apart. One of them a memoir, Down These Mean Streets, published in 1967 and written by Piri, a black Puerto Rican high school dropout, ex-con, former heroin addict. And the other, a novel, The Birthparents, published in fall of 2023 by Tortoise Books and written by Frank Santo. White, or maybe Hispanic white. That name Santo makes me wonder. Mid-30s, Ivy League educated, Dartmouth to be specific, who after graduating spent a few years working as a caseworker in the foster care system in the Bronx. These are the two books that I'm going to talk about today. They both, I think, describe authentically and well those mean streets, but from quite different perspectives. One gritty, local, born and bred, and the other one a kind of burnt out white do-gooder who is pushed to his limits. Those are the books we're going to talk about today. This is Book Rants, passion for books, plain and simple, by the way. Broadcast from the outskirts of Seville, Spain, where I've lived for 18 years. Not exactly mean streets here, but hey man, it's authentic. All right, let's talk about the classic first, Down These Mean Streets. Like I said, it was written by Piri, a black Puerto Rican who was born in Spanish Harlem in 1928. I think he died in 2011. Right after he was born right at the tail end of the Depression. He was one of 4 siblings, I think. It's about growing up in El Barrio. It's also about a short stint where he lived in Long Island, in white Long Island. The book is about race in many ways, about finding his identity. I mean, but with none of the sort of annoying progressive jargon. Like, is he black? Is he Puerto Rican? What does it mean to be a Puerto Rican black? It's about his boys. It's about his sexual exploits. He writes so naturally about sex. There's one scene that reminded me of Last Exit to Brooklyn, that great novel by Hubert Selby Jr., where Piri and his boys decide that they're gonna go up to the FAGGOTS's pad to cop some bread. They basically prostitute themselves to have a little extra cash. There's also a great scene later on where he has this sexual, I don't know, run-in with this stranger on a packed subway train, a white girl. Amazing. One of the most erotic scenes I've ever read in literature. It's also about just his general delinquency. It's about his life as a small-time crook. It's about him ultimately shooting a cop in a gay bar that he was robbing with some friends, which got him into Comstock, where he was for 6 years. It's about surviving there, keeping his rep. The book is about heart. Heart to him basically means having no quit and standing up for his people. So he's got to be able to do that and at the same time sort of placate the parole board so that he can get out. The book is also about heroin addiction, about what drew him to it, what kept him on it, how he finally got off it, the temptation to always go back to it. I mean, a lot of books are about these things, I think, but his book stands out and is a classic because, for 2 reasons, I think. Number one, for the voice. I mean, you know, the book it's very street, it's filled with vernacular, but vernacular that even over 50 years later doesn't seem dated. It also stands out because of how moving it is, how emotional it is. You know, most literary books are written from the head, you know, filled with literary contrivances and so forth. I'm not saying that this book is not sophisticated. It is tremendously sophisticated, but you can't really deconstruct it. It defies deconstruction in a way, because he just is such a natural storyteller and just wrote his story with that heart that he talks about. No quit. And there it is on the page. It's almost like, how can you really like say what makes this book beautiful? I mean, you know, it's almost as though it has a kind of naturalness that makes you think, well, it's beautiful for the same reason that like a breaking wave is beautiful or a tree blowing in the wind is beautiful. It's beautiful like this park is beautiful. It's like it just came out that way. You know, it's funny, at the end of this book, I have the 30-year anniversary edition, and there's an afterword that he wrote. And, you know, it's boring, man. It's dull. It's like he fell into the activist role. And I mean, I'm sure he did a lot of good with that activist role, but he just wasn't writing well anymore. It's like he was no longer in touch with whatever that vibe was. He wasn't plugged in, he wasn't tuned in. This book is so fucking tuned in to who he was. And it just comes out that way. I mean, it really is just an expression of humanity in the purest sense. Okay, I'm gonna read a couple paragraphs from Down These Mean Streets so you get a sense of his style. He's writing about Harlem here, okay, from a chapter called My Marine Tiger. In the daytime, Harlem looks kind of dirty and the people a little drab and down. But at night, man, it's a swinging place, especially Spanish Harlem. The lights transform everything into life and movement and blend the different colors into a magic coverall that makes the drabness and garbage, wailing kids and tired people invisible. Shoes and clothes that by day look beat and worn out at night take on a reflected splendor that the blazing multicolored lights burn on them. Everyone seems to develop a sense of urgent rhythm, and you get the impression that you have to walk with a sense of timing. The daytime pain fades alongside the feeling of belonging and just being in swing with all the humming kicks going on around you. I'd stand on a corner and close my eyes and look at everything through my nose. I'd sniff deep and see the chutifritos and hot dogs, stale sweat and dried urine. I'd smell the worn out mothers with 6 or 7 kids and the non-patient fathers beating the hell out of them. My nose would get a high-pitched tingling from the gritty wailing and bouncing red light of a squad car, passing the scene like a bat out of Harlem, going to cool some trouble or maybe cause some. Good stuff, no? Okay, now The Birthparents, the novel by Frank Santo. The narrator, a guy named Lee Todd, is this middle-class white guy from New Hampshire who is working as a caseworker in the foster care system in the Bronx. His nerves are cooked, his soul is toast. He's closer to his 30s than to his 20s. His fiancée recently broke up with him. He has kind of recently bumbled this office romance, showed himself to be impotent. He's basically a pathetic character. He describes himself as like having functional alcoholism with a mild to moderate white savior complex. Nonetheless, despite being this kind of loser, he manages to get up the gumption and guts in this Budinskian bureaucratic system, right, to overcome his burnout and his apathy and come to the aid of this mother, Margarita Sand, who is negligent. She is a drug addict, she prostitutes herself, she is in a physically abusive relationship, she's mentally unstable, she's suicidal, yet, right? Lee Todd believes that she will be a better mother to her children, he's trying to get them back to her, than the system will be. So basically, through the prose and imagination of Frank Santo, right? Lee Todd is this outsider who is put in, let's say, Piri Thomas's world over half a century later and tries, as an outsider, to do some good there. I will leave it up to you to read the book to see whether or not Lee Todd actually does some good there. So I think Santo's book also stands out for two main reasons. First, for its storytelling. He's a yarn spinner, Santo. It's a character-driven book, it's a literary book, but most literary writers poo-poo plotting, right? They think they're above it. I think it's partly out of fear, because it's hard to plot, because you have to walk the line between predictable and far-fetched. Every plot twist has to be kind of surprising and inevitable at the same time, and Santo is tremendously good at this. I think there's only one place where the very end, in the last maybe 5 pages, I questioned the scene, whether Lee Todd would have done what he did. It's conceivable, but I just thought it was a bit overwrought. But again, this is debatable. I could see people legitimately disputing me on this. The other reason why The Birthparents stands out is for its voice too. I mean, look, it's a literary contrivance. Frank Santo invented Lee Todd. He is a caricature in some places. He's exaggerated sometimes for literary effect. But in key moments in the narrative, when shit is really happening, I trusted Lee Todd as a reliable narrator. Otherwise, I would not have been moved. I would not have felt his pain and disappointment as he empathizes with Margarita Sands' meltdown. His case, right? This underprivileged character from some marginalized place. You know, it's, in this day and age, it's bold to write a book like this. And it's bold to publish it. So kudos to Tortoise Books for publishing it. What a shame that it's bold and brave to have to do that, to sort of embody, as a white privileged writer, I'm saying that with irony, these marginalized peoples, these underprivileged peoples, how that's considered out of line these days, as if certain writers were appropriating culture. You know, it's really only possible these days through first person, right? You don't want to enter, it's hard to enter these characters sort of omnisciently. I think he wisely shied away from that, Santo. But there are places in the book, it's interesting, that are in third person. I read somewhere, or I heard somewhere in a podcast, that the entire book was originally written in third person. Then he changed it over to first. But there are places that are still third person where Lee Todd is not there in crisis moments. And, you know, Santo writes those pieces as though Lee Todd were in the heads of these people. You know, as though, despite himself or reluctantly, he's empathizing to this extreme degree. It's a bold move, and I think he executes it well. I think he pulls it off, man. All right, so I guess I've got to recommend Down These Streets more, right? It's a classic. It's one of a kind. I don't think you will, very rarely, in rare circumstances, will you read a book as effectively effective as this one, Down These Mean Streets. But The Birthparents by Frank Santo is quite a feat too. A feat, not a feat. Okay? It's solidly structured. I mean, there's not a bad sentence in it. And there are some great ones. And it's illuminating. It's illuminating. It's an illuminating vision of these mean streets from a controversial perspective that many literary charlatans out there would say is illegitimate. You read the book for yourself, man. Read the book for yourself to just see how legitimate this perspective is.